Let us begin our evening meditation with a moment of devotion. Our gracious Lord, we thank Thee for the privilege of living, for the privilege of realization, in recognition of the resurrection from the old levels of existence and half function into the realm of the living, that we may know the way, the truth, and the life. And let Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. That the projection of heaven through us may manifest on earth to Thy glory and to the blessing of all who will receive in the Christ. Amen. In our classwork, we have been considering some of the basic elements essential to true living. And tonight, carrying out the theme of life or living, I would like to consider with you a portion of the record from the book of Revelation, beginning with the first verse of the 5th chapter. And I saw in the right hand of him that sat on the throne a book written within and on the back side, sealed with 7 seals. We have recognized that the right hand signifies the hand of positive power. The positive or controlling factors made manifest. The directing hand, the controlling hand. And I saw in the right hand of him that sat on the throne a book written within and on the back side, sealed with 7 seals. This is the book of life. The book of life individually, and the book of life collectively. The fullness of living which we may know as a unit or as a part of the human family depends upon that which is written within and on the back side of the book of life. Some human beings have imagined that the book of life was a huge book in heaven, and all that was necessary was for you to have your name written there, and all would be well after you're dead. We are interested in living, and why a book of life should be conceived to be of particular importance after you're dead is a mystery. A book of life should relate to living. and it should relate to living when and where we have the opportunity of life. And that is here and now. But this book is sealed with 7 seals. We have recognized from the standpoint of our study of the human body that the book of physical life is sealed with 7 seals. There must be the functioning of the 7 focalizations of the endocrine system in order for the physical body to be an instrument through which life may manifest. But physical life is merely a step in the realization and the experience of life. Physical life is essential to the body, so that the body may be an instrument through which life can manifest. If this be recognized, we can readily see how it is that with the mind there must be intelligence, there must be understanding in relationship to the human being, or in the human being, in the mind, if the higher level of consciousness is to manifest. If the mind is to be an instrument for the expression of divine intelligence, there must be intelligence in the mind. If the physical body is to be an instrument for the expression of life in the larger sense, the physical body must be alive. The same is true with the heart. If that which is of the heart of God is to manifest, then the condition natural to the heart of God must be present in the human heart. And it is for this reason that the Master said, "Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God." Here we begin to see emphasis on the basic and original truth that man was made in the image of God and after his likeness. Divine life cannot manifest through a physical body which is physically dead. Divine intelligence cannot manifest through a mind which is mentally dead. The divine reality of the feeling nature or heart cannot manifest through a heart that is emotionally dead. There must be the living reality, the likeness in man of that which is to appear from God through man. The image, the design, the control factors, all things necessary for the manifestation of life and those things which are essential to living. Physical health is a wonderful thing, but it is of small importance unless that life in the physical body makes possible the manifestation of true living. Human beings have for so long mistaken physical existence, the fact of physical life, as if it were the real thing, the process of living. Here we begin to see something of the mystical portrayal of the heavenly magic of life, and that which is necessary to the release of that life through the complete human being. The book of life, the book of the individual life expression. In other words, the book of life is the individual garden of good, that which is designed for you, that is supposed to come to you from out of the east, the manifestation, because you live. And this book is written within and on the back side. The front of the book was blank, and it is for you. The front of the book is blank. As the book of life, the opportunity of life begins to appear, the front of the book does not reveal that which is within the book and that which is on the back side. And we do not have the true living of life until living reveals that which is within and on the back side of the book. The only way that which is in this book can ever be known in the sense of this world is for you to live it out. You can't develop some kind of spiritual vision and look into some high realm of heaven and read it and then simply talk about it here and say, this is my book of life, I'll tell you what's in it. You can't tell what's in it. You have to live what is in it. The only way it can come out through the front of the book and become known is by the living of it. The living expression is much better than just reading something and saying it and letting it pass by. The revelation of your book of life must manifest in the living of your life if it is to ever be known. And I saw a strong angel proclaiming with a loud voice, who is worthy to open the book and to loose the seals thereof? Who is worthy to open the book and to loose the seals thereof? Now notice that it does not say who is able to read the book, to open it, to loose the seals, the 7 seals, so that it may find expression in the living of life. And no man in heaven, nor in earth, neither under the earth, was able to open the book, neither to look thereon. No human being as such can, no matter what he does, how he tries, what techniques he may develop, what concepts he may engender, no man, whether in heaven or earth, can open the book or even look thereon. Until we begin to realize that that which appears through the processes of existing on earth is not living, we cannot begin to appreciate the vital importance of letting this book of life be opened, that it may be revealed through living. Perhaps the most difficult task we have in ministry is to convince human beings that it is possible to live. The human mind cannot distinguish ordinarily the difference. It doesn't know anything about living, so it is convinced that the patterns of existence are living. And it refuses to so function that living may be possible. Or the human being sets out with the misuse of his own capacities of intelligence, etc., determined to open the book for himself. He is going to open his own book of life. But no man, no woman, no person on earth, no human being has ever, at any time, in any cycle of time, in any circumstance, opened his book of life. And how few there are in the world who have ever revealed the book of life divinely designed for them by their living. How very few. Within the scope of the world response, our master did. And his living on earth was a revelation of his book of life within the scope of the world's response, which would let that revelation manifest. We recognize that there are the limitations of response in the patterns of the world, but if we function correctly in right polarity, God is able to begin to produce the conditions which will let our book of life be revealed. But you cannot produce those conditions as human beings, individually or collectively. Here we see the reason why all of the efforts that have been known in the world in past history, all of the efforts that have been made to cause groups of people to come together on a collective basis in order to truly live, they thought. They were going to find a way to live by drawing together a particularized group of people. Working together, they were going to produce the conditions which would allow them to manifest the life they thought they wanted to live. But they could not open the book of life. And on the self-centered basis, each wanted the other to produce the conditions which would let each live. Instead of working together to produce the conditions, the human tendency is for each to want others to so function that he himself may have the opportunity to live according to his own concept of what he wants his life to be, or what he imagines it should be. Down through the centuries, these things have been working out. Multitudes have tried to achieve. And there are those who imagine that our undertaking here is more or less the same idea. The development of a colony or a group, a sort of closed-in thing, they imagine, in which we are supposedly attempting to do what human beings have attempted to do down through the centuries. They have all failed. We are not attempting to do it. It only appears to the limited human vision on the surface as if we were. No. We have come together here on Sunrise Ranch to so function that the book of life may be opened, but not by our own efforts, in the sense of men and women, determining what we want out of life and expecting others around us to produce the conditions that will let us have what we want out of life. That in which we are engaged is an altogether different thing. And there has not yet been, even among you here, a clear realization of that difference, a clear understanding of the distinctions involved. And tonight, to the end that we may more rapidly move forward toward the opportunity of living in the true sense, I would like to draw your attention to these things. And if your mind says, but I've heard Uranda speak on this text before, I think I know about that, I accept that idea, etc., you will defeat yourselves. It is something new that I would convey to you through the Word. And it is that which is conveyed through the Word tonight that is important. And no man in heaven, nor in the earth, neither under the earth, was able to open the book, neither to look thereon. We have universities, schools, experts of various kinds, psychologists and psychiatrists, all presumably giving human beings an opportunity to open their books of life, to set a course, to determine how to live, what to do. Experts of various kinds. But no man can open the book. Simply cannot be done. All the period of history which we know in this outer world proves that. And generation after generation, human beings have come and gone without ever revealing their books of life. A moment's existence on the stage where life should be lived. But they did not know what was in the book. They refused to do their part toward letting the book be opened. They existed for a moment and were gone. Opportunity lost, privilege betrayed, and life gone. Until you here come to a vivid realization that anything that may work out here or anywhere, under any circumstance which you may devise, which is not a revelation of that book of life for you, is a waste of time. It is a futile, useless, worthless thing. It is a betrayal of your trust. The trust in you. A betrayal of yourself. A betrayal of God. A betrayal of your fellows. It is treason against the kingdom of heaven on earth. Anything that may be humanly designed and determined that is not the revelation of that book of life for you is an imitation, a false thing, something that is futile and utterly worthless. You see, one of the great difficulties we have here on Sunrise Ranch has been and still is that you don't believe it yet. And we can't cause other people to believe it until you believe it. You believe it partly, yes. Intellectually, you've more or less accepted the idea. But from the standpoint of our unit function, you have not given evidence that you believe it, that you have come to a realization of that fact. Even this small group could be the means of a manifestation of power and meaning far greater than has yet been experienced. You are moving toward it, or I would not take time for this consideration tonight. But if you could be inspired to the conviction that this statement is true, if you would actually accept it tonight, what a difference it would make in the days to come. How rapidly would our program be carried forward. This first cycle of emergence out of the realms of decay and degeneration and death must of necessity be the most difficult one. But it must be done. We are the ones who are here, regardless of how well equipped someone else may be, regardless of how important someone else may be, regardless of anything. We are the ones who are here. And it is up to us, working together with one accord in one place, to let the ceiling be broken, to let the way be opened, to let the truth be known, that we may live life, that each may become a constant revelation of that which is contained in the book of life. Occasionally, you have let hints of that which is in the book of life come through, and even those hints have been beautiful. We have made progress, but it is not enough. I thank God for your earnestness and sincerity, your devotion, and the progress made in and through you. But we need, more than anything else, to come to the realization here that no man in heaven nor in earth, neither under the earth, is able to open the book, neither to look thereof. The human being can't even get an idea. He can't, by his own effort, get a hint. And so he goes out to make something out of himself. The human being who in the first place was made by God, and you yourself, formed in the mother's womb, not by your own hand, but by the hand of God, made by God, to be a means by which this book of life may be a living reality on earth. But human beings refuse to let it be so, and they're going to make themselves into something. They're going to live their own lives. Do you know, there's never been a human being born who lived his own life. On the basis of that concept, he's going to do as he pleases. He's going to live his own life. He's going to determine what he wants to make of himself, and he's going to do it. We've heard about those self-made men who were very religious, very devout in worshiping their own creators. They were self-made. But they didn't live. It was merely a pattern of existence. It was not the revelation of the book of life. And anything that is less than the living revelation of the book of life is not living. The fact that all these generations have come and gone, attempted every humanly devised means of opening that book of life, and yet have failed, should cause us to cease, conscious or unconscious, subconscious, tendencies which keep appearing, by which the human being is attempting to shape and mold or dictate the expression of his own life. You may say, but I like to be independent. Short of this fulfillment, the living revelation of life, your book of life, you cannot be independent, and in that you will be completely dependent. But only there can you find freedom. Only there can you know peace. It is really not difficult to let this seven-sealed book be opened. There are those who imagine that they open the book by giving particular consideration to what they call the seven centers, or working through the endocrine glands, perhaps, the various centers in the body. They're going to open these centers, and when they get them open, they're going to have a spiritual life. So many ideas have been developed. In the Oriental philosophies, we find much of this. Methods by which human beings can open the centers of being and live. But it can't be done. It never has been done. It never will be done. I don't care how high the supposed master has achieved. I don't care what yogi method or other method may be utilized. I don't care whether it supposedly comes from Tibet or some other place. It can't be done. It never has been done by anyone, anywhere. Tales to the contrary notwithstanding. It cannot be done. And once we begin to face that fact and really accept it, the rest is easy. Very easy. But we must reach a point where we believe the truth of these words. And no man in heaven or in earth, neither under the earth, was able to open the book, neither to look thereon. Once we have accepted that, the rest is easy. But we have to reach a point where we actually believe it before we will stop trying to do that which is impossible. The billions of people who have gone before you trying to do something impossible should, by their testimony, make it easier for you. The testimony that it can't be done. And I wept much. How many human beings there are in the world who have shared that feeling? They have recognized that the patterns of existence known to men were not what ought to have been. They have wept much. They have searched. They have longed with a deep longing. They have tried everything they could think of and all the things that other people could think of. And I wept much because no man was found worthy to open and to read the book, neither to look thereon. Now here, at this point, we touch the point of reading, which is to be translated as perceiving. Not necessarily reading aloud, but perceiving. The perception which makes possible comprehension. And I wept much because no man was found worthy to open and to read the book, neither to look thereon. It simply couldn't be done. It is one of the impossible things which human beings keep trying, individually and collectively. And once any human being is convinced that it cannot be done, he will stop trying to do it. As long as human beings are trying one way or another to do it, they show that they have not been convinced that it cannot be done. There are those who have stopped trying to do it in this sense. They have acquiesced to the factors of existence around them. They're not trying to do anything. They've simply given up. They're perfectly content to go through the routine of the job, the pattern of life, round upon round, merely to exist and in season die. They've become convinced that it cannot be done by man. Therefore, they take the attitude it cannot be done by any means whatsoever. And that is the fatal thing. It is in that lethargic, asleep and half-awake state that so many people in the world are existing today. And then beyond that, there are those who are the dead. They're completely dead to any impulse to have the true expression of life. And so, this is the situation. And one of the elders saith unto me, Weep not. Weep not. Behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David, hath prevailed to open the book and to loose the seals thereof. Now we must remember that we are dealing with mystical language, dealing with that which reveals the magic of life, the magic of living. We recall that there were 24 elders. 24 elders. And one of the elders saith unto me, Weep not. Behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David, hath prevailed to open the book and to loose the 7 seals thereof. And I beheld, and lo, in the midst of the throne, and of the 4 beasts, and in the midst of the elders, stood a lamb, as it had been slain, having 7 horns and 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits of God sent forth into all the earth. And he came and took out of the right hand of him that sat upon the throne, and took the book out of the right hand of him that sat upon the throne. And when he had taken the book, the 4 beasts and the 24 elders fell down before the Lamb, having every one of them harps and golden vials full of odors, which are the prayers of the saints. And they sung a new song, saying, Thou art worthy to take the book, and to open the seals thereof. For thou wast slain, and hast redeemed us unto God, by thy blood, out of every kindred, and tongue, and people, and nation, and hast made us unto our God kings and priests, and we shall reign on the earth. These have been the mysteries to the human minds of men, because no matter how they tried, no matter how they prayed with the ordinary concepts of prayer, no matter what exercises they took, what periods of meditation, what efforts they made, they could not open the book or loose the seals thereof. But here we have the mystical revelation of the means by which the book can be opened. Your book. Now notice, one of the elders saith unto me, Weep not. That's the first step. Stop weeping. Stop making a lot of noise. Stop trying. Stop attempting to do the impossible. Stop weeping, listen, look, and begin to understand. Behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David. The root of David hath prevailed to open the book and to loose the 7 seals thereof. What book? The book of life. For whom? There we have a recognition of the fact that we mentioned earlier in our meditation tonight, that the Master's book of life was open. The 7 seals were loosed, and his book of life was opened. And there was a revelation in the process of living. But that is not all. The root of David. Now we think of a root as coming first, do we not? Here, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, whatever that means, is spoken of as the root of the tribe, or the root of David. David, that David the king, had lived a good many hundred years before, several centuries. The root of David would be that which went before David, would it not? Not after. The root of David would be that which went before David, not after him. What was the root of David? We may say there are many evidences, many rootlets, but what is symbolized in this mystical language by the name or the word David? David the king, we look at him, and what do we find? A king who lived a rather bloody life, always at war. A king who, according to the outline, made certain mistakes, did certain things that were wrong, but he was blessed by the Lord and achieved many victories. He was the king of conquest, or the victory king, from the standpoint of the history of the children of Israel. This pattern of revelation and outworking in the master's own life and the setting established with respect to the author of this book and the outworking at the time was within the scope of the children of Israel. That was the place or the means by which the pattern had been developed up to that time. And so David was the king of conquest, the king of victory. But this mentions the root of David, not David himself. That which went before David, which makes possible the victory. It is clearly stated then that that which makes possible the victory in true living, the true revelation of life, was something that had gone before David. And David lived hundreds of years before the coming of our Lord and Master. But the root of David, carrying it back to its final analysis, it leads, of course, to the Lord of Lords and King of Kings, the apex of deity in and through and for this world, the beginning point of the processes of creation for this world, the starting point for the outworking of the creation of man himself, the starting point for the planting of the garden of God eastward in Eden, the beginning of victory was established at the beginning of creation. And in whom was it established? The King, the supreme King of the God beings who shared in the work of creation, the King of conquest. The conquest involved in the creative processes themselves. Each day revealed a victory. Each creative day a victory. And God looked upon that which had been accomplished, and he saw that it was good. So it was. The conquest, the victory. And the root of David, then, is the beginning of the victory. Man fell. Man has assumed that God lost, and that man could under these conditions, live his own life the way he wanted to. But no human being has ever succeeded in doing it. Not one in any generation, anywhere. Not one. So, what looks to man like God's failure isn't so much a failure on God's part. It isn't a failure at all. Man has taken the attitude, we're going to exclude God from the earth, from our lives. We're going to live our own lives the way we want to live. And because evil has continued for this period of time, man has assumed that he was winning, that he had a stronger pattern, that he was in control, that he was going to have his own way. But the route of victory extends back beyond the time of the fall. It has been maintained constantly through all these millennia. And the very fact that no human being has ever achieved that which human beings have been attempting to achieve looks like failure to me. Not like victory, not like success on the part of humanity, just plain failure. Who is the victor? God, our King. So as long as the rebellious ones keep trying to do the impossible, and open their own books of life, they fail. And there has not been one single instance in which God has failed, in which the King has failed. The King of conquest, the King of victory, whether with single individuals who preferred to die rather than yield, or whether with nations and peoples or empires, the rise and fall of empires, the coming and the going of peoples and tribes, colors and races. And who has maintained the victory? God, our Lord and King, the root of David, that which was back of David, that which was in the beginning of things, our Lord and King. Now, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David. The tribe of Judah. We will not take time tonight to go into this particular point extensively. But the lion has long been thought of as the king of beasts. The king of beasts. The lion is the symbolical representation of our Lord and King. The lion. The tribe of Judah. The tribe of Judah, in the pattern of things, attempted to establish its own absolute supremacy in relationship to the children of Israel, and then later in relationship to all the children of men. The tribe of Judah tried to establish its own supremacy with respect to all the tribes of the children of Israel, and then later with respect to all the children of men. The supreme pattern of human effort to produce supremacy on a human basis. This has been a constant thing under the banner of the tribe of Judah. For look you into the world of history. The great musicians, the great scientists, the great doctors who came out of the tribe of Judah. There has not been a single field of human endeavor that had any basis of true recognition from the standpoint of human beings, where those who are of the tribe of Judah have not undertaken to establish supremacy. But while there has never been in all world history anything to compare with it on the basis of establishing supremacy above and beyond all others, and they've certainly been some fine people and have done some wonderful things and produced some marvelous things that have brought blessings into the world, yes. But here we have that which is the Lion of the tribe of Judah. That does not mean that it was of Judah. It was that which was supreme over Judah, which had made the most concerted attempt in all world history to establish supremacy in the world over all men. If you can begin to see this point, there will be a great pattern of liberation. For from the standpoint of human endeavor and human attainment, it does not make any difference which field you turn to. You will find high in the realms of success leaders, individuals who had achieved so much that, generally speaking, no human being would even dare to think to surpass them. They would say, if we can imitate them, if we can achieve something of what these great men have done, then we will have done much to open the book of life. If we're going to achieve greatness in the field of music, then it is not, generally speaking, an attempt to be greater than the great men of music that have already been in the world. Or any other field, it matters not. In the field of medicine or science, turn where you will. In the fields of financial endeavor, the fields of organization, human achievement in any realm whatsoever. But this, which looks to be, from the standpoint of an analysis of human achievement, the absolute zenith, no matter which way you look, where you turn, which makes people feel we perhaps cannot achieve that much, but if we apply ourselves diligently, we can add to it perhaps in some way, or at least make something worthwhile out of our lives. Until that is not seen as the zenith of potentiality in life, human beings are bound by that which has been conceived to be supreme in the realm of human achievement. There have been these great men, and I am not detracting from them. They have been. They have been great men. But the simple fact is that the pattern has been so established in relationship to the consciousness of men that who is there to dare to say, I will go higher than these great men have gone? If we can achieve something of it, we will have done much. And that very attitude has established a limitation. And the consciousness of man has come to believe nothing greater in the book of life can be established than that which has been done. By these great men. Supremacy. To establish supremacy. And from the standpoint of human endeavor, they have done it. There's no doubt about it. But there is that which is a lion over even that degree of achievement, even that degree of living, even that degree of accomplishment. And that which has been accepted by human beings as supremacy in a living and achievement is not by us so accepted. Oh, in those realms, in the realms of the self-activity of man, that is the zenith. Well and good. We would not detract from that. But there is the life, the symbol of the King of heaven and earth, which is above and beyond and over the supremacy of Judah. Once we begin to see this, we will not be limited as human beings have been by the levels of achievement attained in the self-active world of man. We'll begin to reach a point where we can let our own books of life be opened, a living revelation of the divine